In my last Silent Hill Homecoming video, I mentioned 3 changes that would help improve the overall story of Silent Hill Homecoming. The changes were to eliminate the plot twists, improve the protagonist Alex Shepard, and create a central shadow for the story. If you haven't watched that video, you should go back and watch it so you can understand the changes I make in this video. In my previous video, I said that I wanted to rewrite various scenes, but instead of going into extreme detail and making it over multiple videos, I figured I'd just go ahead and rewrite it all into one video. The first part that I would rewrite would be the introduction. I see what they were trying to go for in Silent Hill Homecoming. They introduced Alex Shepard with a nightmare sequence so that they could throw the player right into the action and try to create a sense of panic. However, I don't think that this was a very efficient way of telling a horror story, or at the very least telling a Silent Hill story. I would rather see a horror story start off slow and build tension as time goes on, kind of like what they did in Silent Hill 2. James Sunderland, when he first comes into Silent Hill, he walks through the fog for a bit, runs into Angela, goes to the town, and then encounters the first monster. So if I was to rewrite the introduction, I would completely do away with the nightmare sequence. Another change that I would make would be the setting of Shepherd's Glen. In Silent Hill Homecoming, the town is nearly empty and all of its shops are boarded up. That would be what I would change. In my rewrite, Shepherd's Glen would still be relatively okay. There would be a few people missing, but shops would remain open, and Alex would be able to interact with a few NPCs, at least in the beginning sequence. The only problem with the town would be that there is a persistent fog that's been there for several weeks. That would actually kind of act as a warning for the entity of Silent Hill that it's about to unleash hell. Alex would also meet Elle in the first couple scenes of the game. He would actively seek her out, and their first encounter would be used as a way to give exposition to the audience. There could also be several scenes that could foreshadow Judge Holloway's betrayal and Silent Hill entity's attack on Shepherd's Glen. Alex would also meet Elle in the first couple scenes of the game. He would actively seek her out, and their encounter could be used as a way to give exposition to the audience. Alex could talk about his time in the military, Elle could talk about people missing, and Alex can say the reason why he's returned to Shepherd's Glen, which would be for him to adopt Josh and get him away from his parents. The next scene that I would rewrite would be Alex's initial meeting with his parents. In the original, Alex only runs across his mom in an empty house. In my rewrite, both of Alex's parents would be at his old house with Josh. Alex would end up talking with his father outside near the shoreline of the lake. Essentially, Alex's father would pretty much agree to let Alex take Josh as long as they talk it out for a bit and come to an understanding. That would kind of be his way of luring Alex outside. Partway through their conversation, Alex's father would sucker punch Alex and knock him into the water. Alex's father would then attempt to drown Alex and would nearly succeed. Anyone who's played the original game would know that Alex was chosen to be sacrificed by drowning. However, Alex would be able to fight his father off of him and gain the upper hand. Alex would then start to beat the crap out of his father, even when his father has been beaten into unconscious. Alex just keeps hitting him, and the player wouldn't know if Alex was actually going to beat his father to death or not. And this would actually be a pretty effective way of showing the audience just how much anger Alex has against his father. Alex would then start to hear something growling near the lakeshore. It would be a lurker, the first monster that Alex would encounter. Alex's father would gain consciousness and get away from Alex and the lurker, and his dad would end up locking Alex out of his house. And that's when the creatures would begin their assault on Shepherd's Glen. The next scene that I would rewrite would be the scene where Alex's family is taken by the cult. In Silent Hill Homecoming, the cultists ambush Alex and kidnap his mom, and the Silent Hill entity traps several members in the house with Alex. This actually wasn't a bad scene, it just could have been executed better. They pretty much turned what could have been a really good horror and dramatic scene into one giant puzzle. In my rewrite, the cultists still kidnap Alex's family, only this time they take his mom, his dad, and Josh. The entity would still trap several cultists in the house with Alex. The changes that I would make would be to the overall attitude of Alex. Instead of the house being a puzzle filled with several monsters, Alex's main objective would be to get to the cultists in the house so that he can interrogate them and find out where his family's been taken to. The player would then see the dark side of Alex, and we see just how wild he can be. It would be kind of like that scene from Watchmen.
None of you seem to understand. I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me.
The last scenes that I would rewrite would be the endings. The endings would not come down to a lot of the choices made in the game, like in Silent Hill Homecoming, where pretty much your ending was decided whether or not you decided to mercy end your mom, or forgive your dad, or try to save Deputy Wheeler. Rather, it would ultimately come down to one or two scenes. There would be a scene where Elle and Josh are getting attacked by monsters, and Alex has to choose which one to save. However, it is possible to save both. There could have been side quests that involve getting Elle and or Josh weapons to protect themselves, or give them charms that deter the monsters. This would encourage exploration for the player, and of course, who you save would determine the ending that you get. The other factor that would determine the ending the player receives would come down to the result of Alex's final battle with the Shadow of the Story. If Alex dies, then you get one of the bad endings. There would be at least 8 different endings possible. The best ending would obviously be that Josh, Elle, and Alex all survive. Alex would leave the military and find work in the civilian sector. Alex adopts Josh and creates a new life with Elle. The next best ending would be that Elle or Josh dies, but Alex survives, and the remaining survivor goes with Alex and they make a new life together. If Elle and Josh both die and Alex lives, then Alex doesn't leave the army. He re-enlists in the military and gives up hope for a better life. If Alex dies, then the final scene will be at Alex's funeral. Josh and or Elle will get a letter from Josh that he had written prior to the Silent Hill Homecoming story. It would be a letter that he wrote in case he died while he was in combat. And in the worst ending would be if everyone in the story dies. It would probably cut to some sort of news segment talking about all the people who had died. Kind of similar to the bad ending in Silent Hill 4. These scenes would be a huge improvement on the story in Silent Hill Homecoming. Like I said in my first video, Silent Hill Homecoming is a story that had many great ideas, but simply failed to execute them properly. And it ultimately failed to live up to its own potential. Hopefully, I helped you see the potential that this story could have had in my videos. Leave a comment and let me know what you think. And I'll catch you next time. Later.